Hi there, welcome to Gaining Vision. I'm Melanie. Thanks so much for clicking. To my returning subscribers, thank you for your continuous love and support. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please feel at home. Have you had an opportunity to subscribe to the channel yet? If not, take a second, hit subscribe, and please don't forget to like and share. Now you know me, I love finding different interviews online and watching them and analyzing the broadcaster's style, if they've done a good job or not. And of course, I'm always looking for really interesting interviewees. I stumbled across a couple of videos, different interviews, same person, different interviewers. And I want to set the stage with this. So we know that all mass media broadcasters have a different focus, a different target audience, and a different style. As well, the interviewers similarly have a different focus, style, and intention. But really, the key to it all is knowing what your audience is looking for, what they want to hear, how they want you to be. Not that you're going to change as an interviewer based on what your audience wants, but you need to bring them the content they're going to follow. Similar to that, I would hope that I bring the proper interviews and content to you guys. Anyways, I was following a couple of different interviews with a political analyst in South Africa. Now, political analysts are great interviewees as they're very well researched, well spoken. They take time to analyze, they draw their opinions, as well as they're very well spoken through their writings, as well as many interviews that they do. They share their thoughts and ideas on what's important to them in the political spectrum. Now, of course, with politics, we know whoever you are interviewing, they're going to have an opinion. And sometimes they're professional enough to focus on the facts, the figures, and the research, and they leave the opinions aside. But it really depends on the interviewer. So when I was watching State of the Union, an interview with Prince.
I'm your host, Mike Sham. Joining me today is political analyst Prince Mashele. Prince, welcome back to the State of the Nation. Good to have you back here.
Thank you, Mike. I'm happy to be back. I'm going nowhere. I have committed no crime.
Political analyst in South Africa. Let it sneak out a little bit, his opinion more so than the facts and figures. So let me break it down for you. And then I'm going to compare him, Prince, on a different interview with a different style of interviewer, just so you can draw your own conclusions. So State of the Union is hosted by Mike, and Mike has his agenda. He knows what he wants to do and he knows what his audience is looking for. He started off the interview very professional, talking a little bit about who Prince was and welcoming him, and he was stroking his ego a little bit. He got right to the crux of it and asked about the EFF 10th anniversary. He gave him credit for filling the stadium and what they could expect.
So let's kick off with the big recent events, and that was the EFF's Big Bash, the 10th anniversary, done to great fanfare. This event at the very impressive event held at the FNB Stadium. 100,000 people, fireworks, music, dancers, everybody in red, and quite an event that was put together. You know, what do you make of it?
Yeah, look, that event was designed to do, in the main, two things. Number one, it was to show that the EFF has made progress in terms of building itself as an organization over the past 10 years. So what's the best way to do it? You do what only the ANC has done post-1994. You host a rally at FNB, which is South Africa's biggest football stadium, and show force that you are massive. On that score, the EFF has scored a massive achievement. They are the second political party to fill up that stadium. So we need to congratulate them on that. So that was the first thing. The second thing was to launch their political campaign towards 2024, which is why if you listen to the speech presented by Julius, he was touching on issues that he thinks South Africans are concerned about. And his promise was, when we become the government of South Africa as the EFF, we are going to change that. He spoke about crime. He spoke about fixing ESCOM, and so on and so forth.
And then, of course, as Mike went on, he helped guide the conversation with Prince, leading him with questions. So Prince started off very professional, very calm, congratulating the EFF on their accomplishment, but quickly switched the switch with his analysis. And it was because Mike was leading the questions. For example, Julius Malema is very much like this. And then very Stalin-like, very much like this, giving very specific direction. So Prince did what many interviewees do, is he followed suit. He knew what the interviewer was looking for, and he shared his opinion. He spoke about the EFF. He would be afraid if they were leading because they don't have the experience.
Second score, he hasn't achieved much because he said he's going to fight crime. He didn't tell South Africans how. He said he's going to fix ESCOM. He didn't tell South Africans how. And in fact, the EFF does not have a history of fixing anything in South Africa. Actually, the EFF has a history of demolishing things. Let's go back to Julius Malema as a leader in the Youth League. What did he do, which is historic? He and his friend, who was a premier of Limpopo at the time, Castle Matali, they collapsed the finances of an entire province to the extent that the province was taken over by the national government. Of course, there are issues around VBS. There are denials here and there, but we know who did what in VBS. We have all read that report. So on the second score, the EFF did not achieve because they did not convince South Africans that they are capable of doing anything. To be honest, I would be very worried to have an EFF government because one, they don't have experience. Two, they are a radical element that has introduced chaos, for example, into our parliament. The idea that you can jump on parliamentary tables is very dangerous. It reminds me of Hitler stormtroopers, for example.
And in fact, he specifically said the EFF doesn't know how to build. In fact, they know how to break things down. Subjective, opinionated, yes, with no factual information to follow. The conversation continued, and Mike, of course, led with more comparisons. The EFF is only Julius Malema. He's the one that leads them. He's the idealistic person, the ideology of the EFF, the figurehead. And of course, Prince chimed in, comparing him to Hitler. Now, Hitler, really? Now, of course, when we hear Hitler, we automatically go to something negative. We think of a dictator. And that's the illusion that Prince wanted us to develop.
As the leader of the party, does have appeal. The entire party hangs on his charisma. He does have a following. And everybody who is in the leadership mix of the EFF is aware of that, which is why they all sing songs and choruses about Julius Malema, because they know that he is the magnet who pulls support towards the EFF. If you want, you can perform a mental exercise and say the EFF minus Julius Malema. What do you think it would look like? I can tell you, the EFF minus Julius Malema wouldn't be what it is. So this whole thing revolves around the personality cult of the man.
Yes, but this we've seen in history, personality cults working very effectively. Not perhaps great governments and not perhaps great leaders, but that cult of personality has been a very popular thing, right? It's captivating. We're seeing it's almost a Hitleresque type of vision.
Look, the EFF calls itself, by the way, a Marxist-Leninist organization. So they take their cue from the Soviet Union. And that has been Soviet politics before the collapse in 1991. That the personality of Lenin, the personality of Stalin, that is the force that drives the party.
Yeah.
So that's how they style themselves. But also, by the way, in their constitution, by the way, they call themselves a socialist party, and they're also a social nationalist party. And that is the politics of Hitler. That is Tsarism, where you combine socialism plus nationalism. The nationalism of the EFF is a black nationalism. Now, if you look at how Hitler conducted his politics, it was all about the towering figure of the leader.
Yeah.
That's exactly how the EFF has organized its politics. That's how it conducts its business. So I'm not surprised, you are right, that kind of politics, by the way, does work. There are people out there who follow powerful personalities, and the EFF has made such calculations. And the fact that they were able to bring almost 100,000 supporters to fill up the stadium means that Julius Malema's magnetic force is attractive.
This causes fear in the audience. Right off the bat, you get a little bit concerned because you're thinking, oh, could that be? Again, no facts. As they talk more about the different events that happened at the EFF 10th anniversary, they talked about the gala dinner. Again, Mike, the interviewer, leading the questions, asking about Prince's thoughts on the intention behind the dinner. People were there. And why was it that Julius Malema was idolizing and singling out Mazzotti? And Prince said, well, it's because he's seen as racist.
A glowing tribute to Adriano Mazzotti, telling the whole world what a wonderful guy he is and how he was there. And we've known about the Adriano Mazzotti relationship from the beginning. This isn't news. Why would he choose now, 10 years later, to hail him as this wonderful supporter and funder of this organization? It felt a little bit strange because this isn't new.
Look, I think he wanted to achieve a few things. Number one, Julius has been painted, and he's aware of it, by his critics as a racist against white people. He wants to neutralize that criticism.
Why?
By saying, look, I don't hate white people. I hate a certain type of white person who is racist. If you are progressive and you are white, I can work with you. Here is an example of a white man, Mazzotti, who is a good white man, and I'm clapping hands for him. So forget about people who say, I hate white people, I'm a racist. I'm not a racist. Yeah, he's a white man. That's what he wanted to do. The second thing, why would Mazzotti support Julius Malema for all the years? Mazzotti is like a panther. He has picked Julius Malema as a horse that he's going to ride. And his bet is that at some point, Julius Malema is going to be part of South Africa's government. So he is investing. There's no businessman who just pumps money, who would pump money the way Mazzotti is pumping money into the EFF, expecting to get nothing. He hopes that over time, Julius will be a leader of South Africa, and when that happens, Mazzotti is going to do business with the state. So he probably is very happy that Julius is praising him publicly, because in the process, Julius is preparing South Africans that this is a good man. So if we get to a point where Julius is a leader of the state, Mazzotti does business with the state, we would have been prepared as a public that this man is a good man. That, I think, is the game that Julius is playing.
And by acknowledging a white man, this will help. Also, he alluded to the fact that, oh, by the way, if you looked at the gala dinner, it was very diverse. There was many people with all different backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds. So definitely, again, didn't prove his point, just said a statement. They then moved on to talking about a comment that Julius made in his speech towards the leadership of the EFF, threatening them, again, like a dictator. They said that the EFF would not be anything without Julius Malema. And in fact, we know that's untrue, because the EFF is a big organization that has many members that play a key role across South Africa. But again, Prince allowed his opinions sleep in based on the way the interviewer was directing the conversation. I will say, though, I really did appreciate when Prince called Mike out when he didn't agree. So when they were talking about the upcoming election in 2024 and the stats and how EFF has grown, the interviewer wanted to downplay it. Oh, it's only by a few percentage. And in fact, they went behind in 2021. They decreased. And only if, and Mike alluded to the fact that only if they only got 2% more or 3%, it wouldn't make a difference in the election. And Prince stopped him right there and said, no, you're wrong. Because in fact, 3% will make a big difference in the election. And he brought up some very good points.
So you see their support growing?
Yes. Their support is growing. I mean, evidence is there. Look at where they come from. They come from 6% when they first participated, right? Yeah, it is true. I mean, you can't deny it. And then they're now around 10% at the national level.
Yes.
That is growth. Show me one party formed after 1994, other than the DA, that has done that. There is absolutely none. All the parties that were formed after 1994, when they participated in an election, whatever they got at their first election, they actually reversed at their next election. The EFF has grown. So we must not downplay that. It is an achievement, and we need to be alive to that and what it means for our society. The EFF could possibly grow. I predict that next year they will grow a bit. So in other words, look at them between 10 and 15% next year.
Okay, so I'd say yes, but perspective matters. We're talking small numbers. When you're growing, so they went from 6% in 2014 to 10% in 2019 and actually regressed in 2021. Right? I had this discussion a while back with Wayne Sussman, and their numbers went down. Their percentage of the vote went down between 2019 and 2021. Marginally, but this idea that they're only growing is not true. So, and even if they had to grow by 2%, this is hardly the stuff of legend. This is relatively small numbers.
No, you're making a big mistake. In 2024, even 3% will matter. If the ANC, for argument's sake, were to get 43%, right, it would need a second party to assist it to form a government. If the EFF were to get 11%, the ANC and the EFF can go co-govern South Africa.
Yes.
So the fact that the EFF would have grown by 1% actually would be significant in the sense that those numbers will matter in deciding who becomes the country's government. So we shouldn't underestimate that. Or even if they were to decline by 2% and they sit at 8% and the ANC get 43%, they can still help the ANC to co-govern. So that growth from 6% to around 9%, 10%, 11%, it's significant. And into the future, it will mean something big.
They also discussed the coalition governments. And again, opinions slipped in. Which organizations would come together and form a coalition? Now, Prince cautioned the interviewer on the importance of the political parties, all of them, DA, EFF, ANC, even Action SA, and the other ones, to make sure they're focused on the we from their party, not to confuse the voters. Because sometimes when you say, we as an organization such as the EFF or the ANC are focusing on this, when we take over power, you feel confidence, but you never say when we and another party. And if somebody has a problem with the other party they're going to be a coalition with, this could cause confusion. And Prince speaks articulately to this. Even
talk about those coalitions because by all accounts it looks on the cards. It has to be that the ANC is going to need a significant coalition partner to govern. They're not going to get, if one looks at the last local government election, they got 46%. They haven't improved since then. One would imagine the lights have been off, the unemployment's been up. Hard to see why their growth would increase, right? You've got a more and more lethargic president and a cabinet that seems to be completely
out of touch.
Completely, right? So let's give them the 46%. They need some significant vote. Do you subscribe to the idea that the natural partnership is purely one phone call to Julius from Paul Mashele saying, Julius, we've done it, you're in.
No, it's much more complicated than that. If the ANC were to get, say, 46%, and it has to constitute a government, there would be three possibilities in the main for the party to govern. Possibility number one, which is very likely, is Paul Mashele making a call to Julius and says to Julius, please come, let's talk. You are going to be deputy president, I am going to be president. Julius can accept a deal like that. And by the way, I'm aware that Paul and them and the EFF have been talking, and that involves the leadership of the KZN in the ANC. It also involves Panyaza in Gauteng. So that coalition, because these two provinces in the ANC, by the way, are the weakest. They know, the chaps of the ANC in KZN, that they won't come back without being assisted. Even Panyaza knows he won't come back into the leadership of Gauteng without being assisted. So Paul can make a call. That is the first scenario. But that first scenario depends on whether or not Cyril resigns. If Cyril Ramaphosa does not resign as a leader of the ANC after the elections, having gotten 46%, that call won't be possible because Cyril won't co-govern with Julius Malema. There is absolutely no way. There's bad blood. I mean, Julius insults Cyril every opportunity he gets.
Oh, well, Cyril did kick him out of the party.
Exactly. So that leaves two scenarios for the ANC. First scenario is Cyril himself making a call to Helen Zille, who is actually the person who's running the DA, and say, Helen, I want us to talk. We can co-govern. And let me tell you, that can happen. Cyril can co-govern with the DA. The DA has made it publicly. Helen has said it herself publicly, that they can co-govern with the ANC under the leadership of Cyril Ramaphosa. Remember that the DA, at some point, by the way, they wanted a vote of no confidence in parliament against Cyril's ministers, but not against Cyril himself. So they have confidence in Cyril. So there is that scenario of Cyril Ramaphosa constituting a government where you have John Steenhuisen as the deputy president. That's a second scenario left for the ANC. The third scenario would be the IFP. No one must rule out that scenario. If the ANC gets, say, 46, 48, and then the EFF gets 5% on the strength of KZN, the IFP, sorry, on the strength of KZN, because the IFP is growing in KZN. That would be easy. Cyril calls Thabisa and says, come to Pretoria. You are going to be a minister of whatever. They can even give him deputy president. That is also a scenario that is open to the ANC. So the ANC has three scenarios open to it if it does not get 50%.
And Thabisa would be happy to come to Pretoria as long as he's not in a truck, because he might get burnt on the way. So
yeah, I guess he would fly. He would avoid the entry.
The interviewer didn't agree. I liked when Prince stood his ground for what he believed in. However, I was a little bit turned off a bit by how easily swayed he was by the interviewer's style. We knew that Mike had an agenda, what he wanted to talk about and how he wanted to talk about it, and what he wanted Prince to say. You could see him pulling it out of him. And it was very opinion-based. Now, most of these shows are opinion-based, so it's not like they're going for research, facts, and figures through the entire interview. So we have to allow a little wiggle room. But what I found very interesting is I came across two other videos. One where Prince was being interviewed by SMWX channel and Mr. Walsh. Now, Mr. Walsh has a very, very different style than Mike from State of the Union. He was very professional, very open, and he allowed Prince to speak his mind and guided the conversation flowing nicely. The difference between Mike and Mr. Walsh was simple. Mr. Walsh didn't have necessarily the same objective or agenda, whereas Mike was very specific where he wanted the interview to go. Mike would cut Prince off when he was speaking if he didn't like what he was hearing, whereas Mr. Walsh allowed Prince the freedom to speak. Again, general conversation about state of politics in South Africa. They talked about EFF, and again, Prince's bias came through. He spoke specifically about the party and his views on it, and how there was not enough proof that the EFF could manage being elected. His opinions he shared with were from facts and figures, but yet he talked very seldom about those facts and figures. Again, it was opinion based. And it reminded me of an interview I saw 10 years ago on Sunrise TV, and it was with Julius Malema and Prince. And again, you could tell the dislike and bias of Prince started that far back. He said there was no way the EFF would be able to do what they promised. He compared them to what had happened in Zimbabwe and was a doubter from day one, really focusing on Julius Malema being the EFF. What I think that Prince doesn't see the bigger picture is over the last 10 years, the EFF has grown in support, not only from the public of South Africa, the voters, but especially in leadership. The many members of the EFF leadership have evolved. And what I think Prince forgets, talking about Julius Malema is the only thing that's holding the party together, is the fact that it's an election for the leaders of the EFF every time it comes through. So Julius Malema is not a dictator, is not dictator-like, and he is leading, yes, with confidence and conviction for the purpose, but he is for the people, as the other members of the EFF are. What I did really enjoy about Prince's interview with Mr. Walsh is that he felt comfortable enough to share his perspectives, his analysis of the other parties as well. It wasn't only on EFF. He spoke candidly about the ANC, and where they've gone wrong. And he shared, when asked by Mr. Walsh, what it is, why he's so focused on talking about the politics of South Africa. And he said it's for the love of his country and for his kids to have a better future. He wants South Africa to succeed and to prosper. And he feels it's his responsibility to keep everybody accountable when he's talking about politics, which is great if you're unbiased. And this is so important. When you're looking for an interviewee, somebody to interview on your show, you want to make sure it's what the audience is looking for. It covers the topic you're looking for, but also that they can have a very open perspective, looking at all sides of the coin. Otherwise, it's important to have another guest on to show the other perspective. So it was very interesting to me to see two different interview styles, two different interviewers, same guest, very different outcomes. I encourage you to check out all of the videos that I mentioned. I'll drop the links below, because it's important for us not only to listen to what Prince is saying, but also to make our own conclusions based on research, facts, and figures. Love to hear what your perspectives are. Drop them in the comments below, and let's have a dialogue. Until next time, please don't forget to hit that notification button, like and share, and definitely, please stay tuned for more to come. See you next time. Bye. Another boat, there was people with red raincoats on, and I'm sure the person driving the boat has to navigate very carefully with all those rocks. I'm sure they're professionals now that they've done it for so long. But I could definitely say I wouldn't want to go over these falls because you would hit a rock for sure.